1, 2, 3. Okay, so hello, it's Overtired Teenager, except I haven't been a teenager for 3 years here, and today it's a very interesting topic that I'm going to be talking about, because I'm going to be talking about capitalism in the video game industry. And if you know anything about video games, you know that is the common buzzword that's being tossed around throughout the entire platform: YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, even though it's getting banned soon. It's everywhere. Everybody's talking about capitalism this and capitalism that. And while this is not a pro-capitalism video in the slightest, right, we need to examine what y'all mean by capitalism in the video game industry, because I want to put my 2 cents in and say that I don't think capitalism is the thing in the video game industry. Okay, so why do I say that? Well, look at capitalism in its just raw native state, right? It is resources being commodified. Well, that's not capitalism in its native state, but those are the problems with capitalism in their rawest state. There are resources that we need to survive, capitalized on, and commodified. Now you're beginning to see the issue that I have with that is because video games are not required. An example for regular capitalism. How can you stop Nestle from using slaves down in whatever third world country that they're using them in? You can't, because they also own bottled water. What are you going to do? Not drink water? Especially in some places where tap water is literally disgusting with a whole bunch of lead and stuff like that inside of it. You can't really fight them on that. And so their reign over their chosen resource is withhold. They have it in a grip because you can't fundamentally fight against it, because again, what are you going to do? Not drink water? Why do things like landlords exist? Why are things like landlords bad? Because they grab on to commodities, not even commodities, things that we need, and they commodify them. They make you spend money for it, right? And that's where the bad things of capitalism starts. And whenever you look at the gaming industry and you try to move capitalism over to the gaming industry, it's like, how is that really going to function? Because Ubisoft, Blizzard, Activision, whatever, they can't put a gun to your head. They can't make you do anything. So it's a lot of pretending that capitalism affects the gaming industry as it does our regular day-to-day lives is absurd, honestly. But, if you take a good look at the video game industry, you could see that it kind of looks like capitalism, huh? It is big companies buying up other smaller companies, trying to grow their empire by acquisition and by domination with an iron fist, by by deleting artists from the equation and using things like AI and crunch in order to make these terrible work environments. And whenever you look at the gaming industry and you look at what the gaming industry does constantly, you may think and you may look and see capitalism. But again, there's a fundamental disconnect there. Capitalism functions based on it being required. On it's hard to fight because it commodifies required resources for your survival. And that just doesn't exist in the video game industry. What can EA or Ubisoft use to make you do anything? You have the answer to that question? If your answer was nothing, you are correct. Because they can't do anything, there is no gun to your head. And since the video game industry is not or cannot be a capitalist thing, how do you solve it? Because you can't really solve regular capitalism, right? How do you solve capitalism video game industry? Well, it's quite simple. It's called not giving them money. Just don't hand over your paycheck. Don't take your credit card out your wallet and type in the numbers on the card. Don't do any of that. If you don't give them money, they can't do the capitalist thing. They can't buy up companies and they can't spend millions and millions of dollars making terrible and predatory cash shops. They can't do that without money, without your money. So, if they can't do anything without your money, then don't give them your money. If people in large enough amounts stop giving money to companies like EA, Activism, Blizzard, all of these like figureheads of the capitalist problems in the video game industry, then they lose their power. Again, money makes the world go round. Stop giving them money and they stop existing. As we can see, because they are having financial problems right now. So if you double down on that, you could wipe out capitalism in the video game industry entirely. Like, period. Just don't give them money, forehead. But I know what some of y'all are saying. Actually, it's a little bit more complicated than that. And I don't know why I think of you of having glasses, but chill out. It's my second video. These are the only props I have. And while that voice of actually is annoying, a lot of you might gravitate towards it because, oh, if that was the case, then we would have done this, we would have solved this years earlier. And I think mostly it's a matter of understanding that you have agency. Capitalism in its rawest form seeks to undermine your agency in your ability to produce change. But now I'm telling you that you have infinite agency here. Again, you have the power in the situation. That's what makes capitalism in the video game industry different than regular capitalism. Because you have infinite agency here. Again, if they do not have money, they can't do anything. Ever. In any circumstance, in any situation. They can't do anything ever. At all. So, yeah. It kind of is that simple. A lot of people will talk about it. We'll talk about the symptoms of the disease. They'll talk about, Ubisoft buys 18 different smaller game companies and ruins everything. And are alleged rapist. Blizzard is making cash shops that are just gambling. Just gambling in the rawest form. EA is... EA, Lord Almighty. And whenever you are up against giants like that, it can feel like you don't have any power in the situation. But you do. You do. It's funny because if you do nothing, you're helping. if you leave the credit card inside your wallet instead of using it to buy 18 different games that are bad, the problem will go away. The problem would poof out of existence. Well, not that quickly, but it would show a noticeable decrease. These companies and their ability to cause this much harm. You know, the layoffs, the crunch times, you know the harm that they can do. Okay. I want to bring attention to a certain phenomenon, and it's something that every human on the planet has. It's called pattern recognition. Okay? And it's a perfect way when to spend money and when to not spend. For a very simplistic overview. So if you look at the past few games and you see that they're all bad or flawed or have some very glaring issues, then you can use that as a pattern. If these, how many other games, it varies to person. If you want to be like, these games have been bad, then that's a pattern. So whenever they bring out a next game in the series, you don't need to get invested and you don't need to spend your money, because if you look at the previous pattern of them not producing good Assassin's Creed games, you know this game is also not going to be good. And then, boom. Them dragging your favorite series through the mud, constantly beating it up with sticks to try to make it make more money, that can't happen anymore. I want to bring about another example that I found. There is this Dead by Daylight streamer and YouTuber that, for one of his videos, reacted to like a list of improvements, right? And what struck me about this particular video was how he like dismissed its possibility. Like he just dismissed it because, oh, they were never going to do that. The company that makes Dead by Daylight was never going to do that. And that I found that very odd, because you have control. Again, bringing up the agency. You have control here. So the company that does Dead by Daylight doesn't want to do that. Make them do that. No more spending money on the game until they fix it. Especially since, like, don't they get a lot of their money from, like, new killers and shit? New skins, new cosmetics. Just stop spending money on those. And then when the money starts going dry, they're gonna have to be like, oh look, the community isn't giving us money. Why is that? Oh, they're not giving us money because the game is broken. So I guess we're gonna have to fix it if we want to stay afloat. And one thing about businesses is that they're not gonna go bankrupt. They're gonna do anything to avoid that possibility. And, you know, they could find the wrong answers, keep throwing out garbage, or they could find the right answers, which is make good games. So you just gotta beat them with sticks. You gotta remove your money anywhere near them, right? That's another solution to this whole capitalism problem. Another solution is indie games. Again, like a lot of people now are seeing that indie games are have vastly more quality than AAA games. And it's crazy. An indie game almost won Game of the Year. Which is insane. It was nominated for Game of the Year, not almost won. It was nominated for Game of the Year, and that's insane. Because you have these millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars being put into these AAA games, and Balatro was on their level. And the guy who made Balatro was one person. With like some free time. So giving all of your faith and all of your money to these AAA companies and AAA games is directly causing them to be worse. If, you know, you've seen these YouTube think pieces, or you've gotten on Twitter in the past 18 years, They're talking about how video game quality is getting worse and worse and worse. Well, that's because you keep paying for garbage. You keep spending your money on trash. I I honestly can't understand what you thought was going to happen, because if you tell them your money is sending a message, if you tell them buying a bad game that's obviously bad, you're sending a message that they don't need to make a good game for you to spend money. So they're going to not make a good game. And if them not making a good game still gets them money, they're going to continue not making good games. I very, very much cause and effect. Cause you keep buying games that are bad, that are obviously bad, from terrible companies. Those terrible companies continue to make terrible games. Cause and effect. So stop doing that. Please, 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 please leave the credit card in your wallet. I am begging you. I would love to play a good game in the next how many years? Please, just one. Let's stop buying bad games, please. In the year of our Lord 2025, let's stop buying bad games. Immediately. Put them all down. Thank you. At this point, I'm convinced that y'all like these video game companies more than y'all like good games. Because a lot of the time, your money is spent on video game companies and not the games that they make. You're not using your money to send a message like, oh, this game is good, keep doing this. You're like, here, EA, here, Ubisoft, keep being terrible. And I think you need to change that mindset. I think we, as gamers, need to change that mindset. You don't need to buy everything. Hype is a disease at this point. Y'all are hyped for the most obviously bad games of the century, and it's crazy. Please, please, please use pattern recognition. Please use your brain. Rub two brain cells together in hopes for a spark. Please, I beg of you. Again, I'm oh God, please. I should make the rest of this video just me pleading. Do you want me? You want me to get on my knees and start praying that you like oh my God. That you just stop making bad decisions? Do I have to do that? Because I will. I love good games. I love playing good games. But I can't do that if you keep buying bad ones and sending that message that bad equals what's acceptable. Yikes. Now that I have finished begging and pleading for y'all to grow a brain, we can talk about one of the more common excuses, which is using people's gambling addictions in order to like facilitate buying bad games. While gambling addictions can heavily undermine a person's ability to make rational and reasonable decisions, I think gambling addiction as a whole and the video game industry argument, like the capitalism in the video game industry argument, is less impactful than it may seem. Because again, gambling is bad, and gambling addiction is an unfortunate reality. Because people are going to get addicted to things. I think, again, people have more agency than that. If a certain game has like gambling 101 in it, the cash shop is basically just a casino. You don't have to play that game, you know? If you look at like screenshots from other people who've played it and you look at, if you do your research on games before you buy them, and you look at the cash shop and it's like, oh, this is just gambling. There are loot boxes, for God's sake. And you, as a result, don't play those games. You then cannot get addicted to those games, and then you cannot get addicted to gambling. Just don't play it. There are lots of games that you could play. And I think using gambling addiction as an excuse, not from like gambling addicts themselves, but from people who are trying to come up with excuses for these prevalent problems in the gaming industry, I think it's a little shallow. I don't think it is as impactful as y'all think it does if y'all use common sense. If you do your research, you know. If you don't walk into the casino, you can't get addicted to gambling. If you don't go to the gambling place, you can't get gambling addicted. Let me pull out my glasses for another skit, okay? It was crazy, you guys. I went into the building that says, "We scam people here," and I got scammed. I can't believe it. Who could have ever predicted this? This is crazy. I'm going to go on Twitter right now and complain about it. Guys. Guys, these companies aren't hiding it. They aren't like hiding the gambling away as if it's a secret. They want you to spend as much money as possible. So they're not like swirling it away so they can like surprise you with gambling. Surprise! Gambling addiction. They're not doing that. Like, the gambling is very prevalent and very in sight. You can see it. If you don't go into the place that scams people, you can't get scammed. Come on now. Come on now, you guys. Come on, you guys. That's all I'm going to say about gambling addiction. Because while gambling fundamentally, like, shifts a person's, like, brain chemistry. And so they're definitely unable to show certain levels of agency when it comes to their chosen addiction. Not chosen. Wrong word. Very bad word there. But their addiction that they have, it becomes easy to, like, blow it out of proportion, you know? I think addicts, in this case gambling addicts, don't have control over their want or desires or need to gamble, right? But I think they have more agency than they're given credit for. I think that if they wanted to, they could avoid it in video games. Like I said before, it's not a secret. It doesn't jump out at you. It doesn't surprise people. It's very much baked into fundamental game design principles. It's woven into every aspect of game design. So it's definitely not hidden, and it's definitely not secret. So with a little bit of research, I think the whole gambling addicts are the reason why these bad games with bad monetization, what's the word? Monetization abilities? Goals? Whatever. You know what I mean. I think they can get past it. Not get past it, but I think they can avoid it. You know, if obvious gambling place bad, they don't have to buy the obviously gambling game with the bad monetization system. Monetization system. So yeah, that's it with gambling. I have one more section of the video, and they're the YouTubers in the thumbnail, and I wanted to explain why they're there. So the first one is Josh Strife Hayes. And the reason why he's here is because he talks a lot about his chosen analogy of the negative video game practices in the gaming industry. His chest, his box analogy, where they have a whole bunch of like manipulative, psychologically manipulative monetization systems that they like pick out and use. Their toolbox of sorts. Their evil toolbox. And again, you can easily avoid them. While whenever you're in the game, these psychological manipulation tactics are very effective. They are effective because they are scientifically proven to be effective, right? But like I said before, a lot of the toolbox, the evil toolbox, the evil chest of tricks that developers pull out in order to get people addicted to these games and addicted to these monetization systems are obvious on the outside, right? Again, one Google search of a cash shop will tell you everything you need to know. So, with a little bit of research, a little bit of planning or forewarning, you can easily avoid those games. Like, there's no gun to your head. They can't drag you into the experience. Josh Strife Hayes and why he's in the thumbnail. The second one is Noodle. And the reason why he's in the thumbnail is because he talks about crunch a lot. And crunch time, he's a very advocate for no crunch in video games or healthy amounts of crunch in video games. You can go to the video down in the description. I'm gonna link that video in the description. And you can go find out what crunch is for yourself. But I don't want to talk much about Noodle because crunch is an issue that needs to be solved in-house most of the time. But what I do want to say about it is money makes the world go round, right? The theme of this video. So, not giving money to companies that work their employees like slaves probably would produce good results. I think just not giving money to the slavers would be very good. Just don't give them money. And if you make it a habit, if you don't spend money on bad crunch and you do spend money on healthy crunch, or inevitable crunch, I should say, then you can build up a routine. Again, businesses know where the money is. If they see that working their employees like slaves isn't profitable, they're not going to do it. Again, they're not like, well, they are evil people, but they're not like devil evil people. I want them to work like slaves because I'm evil. No, they're just following the money. And that makes them evil, but not cartoonishly evil. So they will follow the money. They're not going to continue to work their employees that badly if there's no money in doing it, if they are actively punished for doing so. So, it's an in-house issue, but money does make the world go round, and we can, as gamers, really influence that. So that's why Noodle's in the thumbnail. And the next person who's in the thumbnail is the Salt Factory. And there was a video, I don't know what the video is, again with Josh Strife Hayes and Salt Factory. I don't know the videos that I'm referring to. So that's a bummer. But there's a video of Salt Factory where he's talking about a video game scam, about how there was this highly anticipated video game and it turns out it was all a scam and they kept losing millions of dollars. And they're just like, oh, we just need a few more millions of dollars to get this game off the ground, despite having incredibly ambitious everything, right? And the reason why Salt Factory is in this Capitalism video is it kind of shows that y'all fall for easy scams. Because whenever you look at that video and whenever you watch that video, you can tell that a lot of the manipulation tactics that they did in order to scam people were just like lying. And not like cool lies. Very much like, if you play this game, if you give us money, we'll build a game that allows you to be God. Like, literally. And so that's obviously not going to happen. You know, you're not playing a god. If this game is going to make you a literal god with real medieval, like, economic systems and, like, guys. Whenever I first watched that video, it was very much like, what are y'all doing with your lives? I was like, this is all obviously fake, bro. What are y'all doing? And so the reason why Soft Factory is here is because stop doing that. Y'all are falling for, let me check my notes here, obvious lies. Please grow a brain. What are y'all doing? God, when I first saw that video, I was like, what is happening? How did y'all fall for any of this? Because this was very much like, I'm obvious scam. This was like, can I have your wallet for a second type scam. This was so obvious it hurts. So, use this as a lesson to stop falling for obvious scams. This is not a thing to stop supporting games that are ambitious or or kickstarted or whatever. This is not that. This is stop falling for the most basic, obvious, blatant lies ever. If a video game company or whatever group is making a video game and they're putting it on Kickstarter, if they promise things that are stupid, don't believe them. It's a scam. Again, rub two brain cells together until they make a spark. Supercharge those brain cells. You'll figure it out eventually. And yeah, that's it. Conclusion time. God. You know that joke that's like, why do I have to write a conclusion? Just read what I said, or just listen to what I said. I'm very much in that headspace because I really don't want to do this conclusion, but here we go. Buckle down. Conclusion. Capitalism is scary. Capitalism is bad. Capitalism is kind of inevitable. But not in the video game industry. Ubisoft cannot hold a gun to your head. Ubisoft cannot force you to play a game that you don't want to play. And so, you have agency. You have lots of agency. Your money matters. All of our money matters. And pretending that's not the case is doing infinite harm to the video game industry. Well, not the video game industry, but the betterment of the video game industry. You can make better video games by funding better video games. You can make better video games, us as consumers, can make better video games by stop giving money to bad video games. It's not hard. A lot of these companies, despite them buying up other companies, despite them moving money around, despite them being alleged rapists, they don't have power over you. They don't have control over your money. So stop giving it to them. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. This was a controversial video, to say the least, but whatever. Like, comment, and subscribe. Do those things. Thank you for watching. This has been a overtired teenager production, I suppose. See you next week.